Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is Houston Trong from thetradingedge.org, and this is your weekly market outlook for April the 15th, 2019. And what an interesting week it was this past week. A number of things went to all-time highs, but the indices actually kind of went sideways. So we're going to get into what kind of transpired the past week, but also be looking forward to what's going to happen here on the coming week. So let's get right into the charts because there is a lot to cover this week. So if you've been looking at the VIX, so you've been watching our videos, you know you've been keeping a really close eye on the VIX, and we'll begin the bottom right hand corner. The VIX now on the quarterly chart is now, if we zoom in, only 34 cents away from October lows. That'll make the all-time lows. So certainly now, to put things into perspective, volatility has come back a long way, right? So if we look at the peaks of Q4, we had VIX of highs of 50, close to 52, and where are we trading now? 26, right? So this thing's dropped close to 50%, and now we're just 34 cents away from that October low, all-time lows on this VXXB product. So we're very, very close, and it looks like it's probably going to get done sooner than later. As we've been saying, that we're going to be seeing these all-time lows in this product. The question, I think, at this point is not a matter of if, but it's a matter of when and how it's going to do it. So taking a zoom out now. So this is inside again, outside bar, inside and down. So outside, inside, and down. That's the pattern we love to watch, and that's what's going to happen. This pivot's now in play. We expect that to get taken out. Now, if you look at the one month chart here, it's just kind of slowly grinding down. So right now it's red on the month, it's red on the week, red on the day, and red on the 2-day chart. So it's just grinding down. And as you've been looking, I'll just zoom in here to this 4-hour chart now. We were watching it all week, right? And it was kind of selling off in kind of fits and starts. So it was very, very choppy, staccato for most of the week. Here we started the week off, right, on the 8th, down, went outside bar and down, and the next day popped up, stopping everyone out here who may have gone short in this entire sequence. So very staccato. Then it sold off slowly, and then on Thursday it finally broke below this trend line, which we've had for a long time now. We've had this on our charts for, again, a couple months, and finally it broke down, stayed down, right, inside bar on the 11th in the last 4 hours of the session. Then finally on Friday gapped down and just kept going down. This is the day they finally gave it up. Earnings came out on Friday. Disney came out, earnings from the financials, that is. So we had JP Morgan and Wells Fargo report. The numbers were good. Disney came out with a bunch of new, their new streaming service. Boeing, of course, came out with some stuff. So really, there was nothing, there was no red flags, there were no unknowns, and basically there were no put buyers, and the VIX just basically gave it up. So at this point now, we expect to see that low taken out. The hard part then becomes, how low does it go? All right, so how low will this thing go? We want to be watching is once you get below this broadening formation, it needs to stay below. Right, so you get below, you need to stay below. Otherwise, if it gets back in here again, you risk it creeping back up like we saw down here. Anytime these things break back into the range, you risk it going back through the other side and going after some of these easy pivots. Okay, so this is a trade that we've identified for a while now. It wasn't always easy, hard to hold on to in some areas. This is why you want to be looking for a good trade location, because you can expect big pullbacks to try to take people out. Because that's what the market was doing this week, and I'll give you an example of that in a few charts here. But the Dow had a really good example of that, which I'll go through in a few moments. So on to SPY. SPY, if you look at the quarterly chart here, it's inside bar and up. Okay, so last quarter was an inside bar. So in Q1 we had an inside bar, and then Q2 has now broken above this inside bar, and it's going to all-time highs, going for all-time highs. Looks like it's going to there as well. We're only 1% and 0.31% away from those all-time highs now. It looks once again very, very likely that we're going to accomplish that. So on the shorter term charts, monthly chart, it's green, right? So we got a green month, very little chance right now. Well, going into the month, it's looking strong. The week, right? Even with the bit of selling we had earlier in the week, there's nowhere near taking out last week's low. So if you at all got bearish last week, you were probably too early for the SPY, because it got as far as down to 286.70, which was not even halfway through the previous week's range, before buyers stepped in and pushed it back up again. So until you can begin to break these lows, you don't have to worry about major reversals. The interesting is on the daily, it kind of leaves a funny looking doji, right? So this is a bit of momentum here, and it's kind of weak looking. It's kind of a weak looking candle. So a lot of people here, they push it up. They may have poor trade location on Monday. We'll see if they gap against them on Monday, or they gap it up and they keep going. Because on the 4-hour chart, what we saw happen on Friday was that we ended the week off with an inside bar. So on Thursday, we went inside bar at the close. On Friday, it gapped up, moved up a bit in the morning, gapped up. Then they immediately sold it off. Then they bought it back again, and then they closed it right inside the prior bar's range. So here the issue is, if you take a look at these little green lines, we got our Bollinger Bands, and it's tapping it right there. So as we know with the Bollinger Bands is that if you're going to do the Bollinger Band walk, you have to keep going. So what's going to happen on Monday? Is it going to gap up or stay up here and slowly do the walk up? Or does it bounce off of them and come back in to try to find some support down here to find a base, stop out any weaker buyers before making their highs again? Because here's that ascending trend line, this broadening formation we drawn back a while back now, and it's slowly creeping up there. So as I mentioned with the VIX product, we want to see the same thing with the spider. It's above the trend line now, the broadening formation. So what you don't want to see if you're a buyer is you don't want to see it come back through the range. You want to see it stay above here, and anything above this can be productive consolidation as it makes its way up maybe to those all-time highs, right? You definitely want to be watching that to see if it breaks back through the range again, and then possibly seeing a deeper reversal. But for now, you don't want to be betting against this product, against a spider in the short term. Nothing says to get short. Qs, again, big picture, 3-month chart, right? Exact same type of formation as we saw on the VIX. Outside, back in Q4, inside Q1, and up Q2, right? So outside, inside, and up. And we're only 0.9% away from those all-time highs. So very, very close. Would not take much. One big gap could easily, close that, or one good day could easily close that and get to all-time highs. So on the Qs, you have that situation, and the same thing though applies to the Qs, in that you have this 4-hour bar, this last one on the top left-hand corner. You have an inside bar. Okay, so you have the inside bar, and now how are we going to open on Monday? So that's going to be the game plan on Mondays. We have a lot of these same situations, inside bars on the hours, both on the spider, the Qs, the Russell. I believe even the Dow has that 4-hour inside bar. So we're going to want to see which way it breaks, right? So does it break to the upside? Do they all break to the upside? If they all break to the upside, then you have a confluence of things going at the same time. Or do they all break on the downside? So now the indices are trading very much in tandem, and so you can have a little more conviction when things are all trading in tandem, both to the long side and to the short side. So what gives me a lot, as I've been saying on the blog, what gives me a lot of conviction about the Qs hitting all-time highs is that we did see all-time highs this week on the XLK, which is the another ETF tracking major technology stocks. And so this guy hit all-time highs back on Wednesday, I believe. I think this is the day here. Yeah, on Wednesday we hit those all-time highs. 740. Yeah, it was the Wednesday that did it. So Wednesday we had the all-time highs on this pattern: outside, inside, and up. Right. So there's your outside bar again, always in play. And that took that thing to all-time highs. And so this thing now you have to figure out where's it going to go. So now the game is harder for the XLK, right? Because we have no more pivots to trade against. So this is now going right in the highs. We want to be watching for how much strength the bulls have. Is there still a lot of buyers on the sidelines waiting to step in? Are there retail buyers out there who are going to get back into the markets because we have these all-time highs and now things are safe, right? Which is and we get this extra leg up because we have more buying power. That's what we want to be watching for, to see what can sustain this rally. Because at this point, there are no more shorts, right? The shorts, or most of them are gone. If you haven't been stopped out now, then then you're just hoping at this point that the thing comes back, because there are no more pivots to trade against. So it's blue skies. Now on to the Russell now. So the Russell on the quarterly chart, right back in the bottom right hand corner, we're looking at an inside bar situation. So the Russell has not broken out of the quarter yet. So the Russell, out of all four indices, is the furthest away from the all-time highs. Still about 9% away from all-time highs, and still trading inside of last quarter's bar. So we're waiting for this level here, 159.50 to crack. Once 59.50 breaks, then that will trigger the quarter. Now, also it's inside month. So the high here on this is 158.78. So once the month breaks, that could also trigger the quarter to break. So that would be, one of these fractal type of situations where, the breaking of the quarter will break, the breaking of the month will break the quarter. Now, actually, what's even more interesting is that we actually have inside week as well. So, sorry, it's not inside week on the Russell. It has it on the Dow, so I misspoke there. On the Russell, it's just been kind of climbing higher and higher. It's green on the week. So one of the situations there where we'll have to wait and see. It's still, inside month, inside quarter, green on the week. But interesting on the day here on Friday, it's end of the day red out of all of them, right? It ended the day red, but it still had that 4-hour inside bar. So on the end of the day there, they were able to push it. If you take a look at it, it closed right on the top of that broadening formation. As we've drawn, we've had it on our chart for a while now. This thing is sitting right there now. So it managed to close, to open above it. It gapped up, but closed right on top. So the buyers definitely defended the Russell there. And so now we're going to wait and see, do we gap up like the rest of them, or what happens in this situation here? Okay, so definitely an interesting scenario here for Russell, because it has the most to catch up. So we'll see if people start, putting their risk hats on and start buying, some of these smaller cap names, looking for the catch up play, because the S&P Qs are really, really close to those all-time highs. Now let's go to the Dow. The Dow now is, let's start with the quarter chart, is now quarter and up, right? So it has the exact same situation here on the quarter, outside, inside, and up on the quarter. Only roughly a little over 2% away from all-time highs. On the month, it's also inside month and up. Okay, so there's our, we've talked about this pattern for many videos now. There's our inside month, pops up, inside month, it pops up. So now they're going after that pivot there. So the inside month triggered the inside, the inside month to the upside triggered the inside quarter to the upside. Okay, now the weekly chart is now an inside week. So Dow actually bounced a lot, bounced around a lot this week, but actually didn't go very far. It was actually, if you look at the close there, it was only up. It was actually basically closed flat for the week. It didn't really go anywhere this past week. Very, very little anyways. Pretty much pretty close to unchanged. So how does it break this inside week situation, right? And if it does break this inside week situation, you're going to have a lot more ammunition for it to get to those all-time highs. Again, we are still, how far away are we again? We are about, 2% away. So not far away at all. Okay. And there's our outside bar high that we're gunning for. That pivot right there, that pivot on the weekly, all outside bars. Okay. So on the Dow, here's a good example. What we saw happen here is on the Dow chart, we have this situation here. We have an outside day that was put in on the 2-day chart. Okay, so we've talked about outside days in the past, and we had the outside day also on Friday. On Thursday. So if you looked at my videos on Thursday night, we talked about the outside bar. And in this situation in the Dow, we had an inside-outside bar, and you wanted to see how that resolved. Does it go outside bar and up, or outside bar and down, or does it go outside bar and stay inside the range? So now we have the same situation here. We want to see how this bar gets resolved. Does it go outside bar and up, or does it go outside bar and down, or go outside bar and stay inside the range? That's going to be the three scenarios. There's actually more than 3 scenarios, but those are the 3 easy ones that we can quickly look for. Now, at this point here, just to preface things, if it goes outside bar and up, it has to keep going, because that's a momentum pattern. if you run out of momentum, it pulls back. Look at the situation here. We had an outside bar here. You have outside bar up, right? But when you run out of momentum, because this is momentum because you're going outside bar, because you're bringing fresh buyers and sellers, goes up. If it can't keep going up and it runs out of steam, that happens. Okay, so that's what you want to be watching out for, because the outside bars don't necessarily just mean right away to buy or sell. You need to see what happens with those things. Like go to this one, an outside bar and down. As soon as it runs out of steam, right here, you see how the buyers took control. They went right back up again. So these outside bars, they don't always mean the end of the world or the beginning of the world. You definitely want to see how the next couple bars play out and how things can, because things can shift around quite dramatically. So that's what we want to be watching for on that 2-day chart. Okay, but it was a really good lesson on the Dow, and I blogged about it throughout the week because I think one of my last posts about the Dow was saying that no one said this would be easy, getting all-time highs, and no one said it was going to be this hard either. But the Dow certainly embodied that this past week. Let me zoom in here on the 4-hour chart to explain what I was talking about there. So this week's entire game plan for the Dow was basically to frustrate and maybe stop out as many people as possible, and that's pretty much what the game plan was for the Dow, and it did that. I think it shook out many weak longs, it shook out shorts, and I think it did a really good job at frustrating both sides, where I think now you have a fresh board here, and we might get some follow through because I think they've stopped out enough people on both sides. And so let me explain what kind of the game plan was, or what you saw play out there. So basically what we saw every single day was that we gapped up and then we sold off for most of the day. So most of the day was spent pulling back, and then letting the shorts get in. Then it would gap it up the next day, squeezing the shorts out again before selling off and getting people attracted to the short side again. So this is what happened, right? So on Monday, so going in here, right? So last Friday, it looked good, right? We had that inside bar to end the week. The question always is, when you end on an inside bar in the week, just like this week, how do you open? Do you open and go up, or do you open and go down? This week, we opened and went down. We gapped down. So anyone who was long in Friday or even Thursday, they got stopped out or were in pain, right? They're like, wow, I bought, I bought a bunch of Dow names, or I bought the Dow, DIA, and now I'm underwater right away, right? So now you're underwater, and you're just hoping that it's going to gap fill so you can at least break even, or, try to get out gracefully. It does not do that. So it gaps down right away, and then it lures some people in. So they buy it throughout the day, and you're thinking, well, maybe it's going to fill this tomorrow. No. So it gaps down again. So it gaps down, and then it pops back up, and it sells. And the next day, so, it gets up a bit, kind of lures people back in before selling off again and coming back down again. Now, once again, people get short thinking, okay, this is going to break this range. The next day it gaps up again. So anyone who's playing like the really short-term stuff, they're getting squeezed. They're getting chopped up, and they get squeezed. So they gap up again and they sell off. So if you covered your shorts, you covered, and then it went south again. So you put your shorts back on again. At the end of the day, it gaps up again, right? And then it squeezes back down. So at the end of the day here, look what happens, right? It goes outside bar and down. So people get short here again because it looks like it's really breaking this level now. They go outside bar and down, and here you put on your shorts, the next day it gaps up, right? So anyone who tried to get short this last week got really, really hurt, or really, really frustrated. Maybe not really hurt unless you were oversized and leveraged. But as well, any longs who try to get long got frustrated because it was really hard to hold through the gaps and the sell-offs that happened intraday. Because every time you'd go long here, you'd end the day close to the lows, and it just doesn't feel good when you're putting a position on and immediately goes red against you as soon as you put it on. But the very powerful thing that we were watching for on the Dow this week was, can it hold the inside week? The Dow was really, really good, some really good lessons and notable things that happened this past week, where throughout the week here we were saying, okay, you don't want to see the low of the Dow get taken out. The low is 260.58. That was the low. So let me just draw that line in. 260.58. So there's the blue line. So on the 4-hour chart, literally, on the Thursday, when it went outside bar and down, it tapped 260.58. So it came to the tick of changing that inside week to a down week, but the buyers defended right there, and they were able to hold on to that particular inside week condition. Then on Friday, we now know what happened. It went outside, inside and down, and gapped up and squeezed everyone who got short in the sequence. And it's quite interesting to watch, because if you look at the 15-minute chart, you can see what happened at the end of day right here. So 260.58 was the area right there. Okay, and right there's the low, 260.58. Went all the way there, touched right there, and then look at the buying power that comes in. Right, so the buying power, you can see they just really step it up. So look at the 30-minute chart, maybe more obvious. So there's the 260.58 level, and they step in, and they buy it right there. See the last couple bars of the day. They buy it all the way back, and it gaps it up and squeezes anyone who got short in that sequence there. All right, so the Dow was a very interesting case study this week about trading in these choppy conditions. And you know, we now know how tight that week was, and that's what an inside week looks like. Okay, so if it feels like you're fighting against, you're putting on trades and you're fighting against it, and it feels like you're working very hard, then likely you're fighting an inside bar condition, right? And that's what it was this whole week. It was an inside bar condition, inside week, and so you're gonna get a lot of these, choppy moves, and in the end, this inside week looks like a broadening formation, right? So if we zoom back in to that 4-hour chart again, this high that was put on Friday is higher than that high. So we're talking about just this week. So it starts here and ends there. This high is higher than that pivot high. That pivot low is lower than that pivot low, right? So it confuses a lot of people when you don't know what to look for, is that you're always going to get situations like this, because this is the most frustrating of patterns that kill most traders, because most traders learn to look for higher lows then things go up, and they look for lower highs when things go down. But the markets a lot of times don't work that way. They work this way because they work in price discovery ways, where they want to basically look for liquidity. And so that's what it's been doing, is it's been creating highs that are higher, but also creating lows that are lower, right? And that stops at both parties. And now we can see if we get that resolution, or do we get, again, a bit more consolidation before getting to those all-time highs. We'll have to wait and see. All right, so let's move on to the next name, oil. Oil was a big deal this past week. On the 3-month chart, let's start there. Not a lot to say, other than that there's a lot of room for oil to go up. So there's our outside and in pattern, and up now on the quarter. So on the quarterly chart, the potential here is that it goes back to 86.72. All right, that means gas prices are going to get a lot more expensive if it gets to those areas, and that's still not very expensive, right? If we look at things in the broader context, right? We've had gas back in 2007, 2008 timeframe that was in the 140s, so we're trading half that, right? So there's room for this thing to go still, and there's nothing really stopping it right now, unless something global, macro, or global political kind of steps things in. The price action is saying it's going higher. We got a green month, we got green weeks here, and there's a bit of volatility on the oil exploration names and the the equity sides, equity names, but the UKOIL chart itself is very clean and up, right? You can see it's going steadily up this trend line here, and on the 2-day chart, same thing, it's even smoother. It's just climbing up steadily, and this is a range that could possibly be an easy one to take out, right? This bar here, at the very least, it's going after that pivot, which would be this entire sequence here. Okay, so getting back up to the 75 area right around here would not be difficult whatsoever, right? And then can we get back up here again, the 87 area, which puts us back where we were in October. Okay, so let's talk about the bonds now. The bonds we've been watching for a while. We've identified the following, right? So on the bonds, first off, on the big macro chart, 3-month, it is an inside bar condition, so we need to watch out for that as the quarter moves on. Right now, it's still a lot of time in the quarter. Don't need to worry about that. Monthly chart, we're inside month though, right? So here we have inside bar and outside bar, right? So we're always looking at the outside bar and seeing what's the next bar going to be after an outside bar. In this case, it's an inside bar, and it's unlikely right now. Again, still 2 weeks left, but early on in this month, we're still inside. Right, so let's see how it breaks out, because last month was a big bar. How do you break out of that month? Okay, now on the week, this is the pattern we've been watching for a while, and we're gonna want to wait and see how this thing resolves. And we think it's gonna be the downside, right? Outside and up, we talked about this pattern already. If you lose momentum here, like here, it comes back through the range. So outside and up. Now, what's that low got cracked? That low got cracked. Not only did the low crack, but it went back into the broadening formation, right? So here's the broadening formation that we drew. It's coming back through the range now. So you could not stay above the formation, hit the Bollinger Bands, could not do the walk, and now it's coming back through here. The pivot's right there. We've been watching this pivot to get taken out, 120.89, and that looks like the kind of target that's likely. Okay, so now we just have to sit and watch and see how this resolves. It was choppy. It was choppy for most of the week on the bonds, right? So here's the week. It went down. The next 2 days it went up, but they closed red every single day, and then finally on Friday they gave it up, just like the VIX product. They gave it up, and now can we get back down to this pivot here, which would be supportive of a broader market rally. Okay, let's talk about gold. Nothing much to say about gold other than it's just chopping around doing nothing. So this is a quick chart that we don't have to cover, because as we talked about already, so long as it's sitting inside this box, that box, as you may have heard me say, is a 12-month bar. Okay, look, all I need to show you is this chart here. You're inside this range for the past 1, 2, 3, going on 3+ years. Until it can break out of that, do not let the gold bugs or gold bears bother you, because there's nothing going on. Yes, you can catch trades in there, and there's intraday stuff, if you can ride some of the miners, but it's doing nothing right now. So don't fret until it gets out of the box. Okay, so stay away until it gets out of the box. Now on the let's talk about digital gold. Let's talk about Bitcoin. Bitcoin's been coming back a bit, and that's to be expected, right? So here's Bitcoin, inside month and up. Okay, now it's going after that pivot there at the very least. Okay, this pivot here is at 77.88, because this situation 3-month chart, it went inside month and down, inside quarter. This is inside bar reversal. Now they're going after that pivot there, but it's going to take time, because on the monthly chart it did a nice outside inside pattern. It did that. Oh, sorry, that's Macy's. Apologize, I clicked on the wrong inside month here. It went inside, outside, inside, and up. Okay, so that did its work. The issue here now is that it's very, very overbought. If you look at something like the weekly chart, if you look at the weekly chart now, you're right inside the Bollinger Band. Okay, so here it's right at the top end of that Bollinger Band range. So what do we know about the Bollinger Band walk? It has to keep going. Right now, it doesn't look like it's going to keep going, but we got the new week coming up, so we need to see, can the buyers, drive this thing higher and keep the momentum up, or we pull back and establish a bit of a base, possibly even pull back in again. That's another possibility entirely, right? So that's something we need to be watching for, is does it come back down through here, or do buyers continue to prop this thing up and we get to those higher levels? Again, how do you work off this overbought condition? That's going to be what we need to watch out for. And at this point here, you just have to wait and see what happens there. Okay. So another interesting chart. A friend of mine shared with me. There's a great chart if you're using TradingView. The symbol is called total. It's the crypto total market cap, which includes all the major coins. All right. And if you take a look at that, oh, sorry, it's total. I didn't mean to type in total. I'm going to use crypto here. It's an index by TradingView. And it's another way of looking at the entire crypto market without looking at all the individual coins. So what do we have on the total product? It looks very, very similar to the Bitcoin chart, right? Here, inside, quarter, and up on the monthly chart, right? Outside, inside, and up now. And on the weekly chart, in the top left, in the bottom left-hand corner, right? We're climbing up this Bollinger Band. So what happens here? Does it pull back in here now, or do we keep moving higher? So keep your eye on those two charts if you're interested in cryptos, total and BTC. All right, just a few more charts and then we'll wrap things up. So about midweek, I was talking about in the blog to watch financials. The financials, obviously JP Morgan and Wells Fargo announced on Friday, and a lot of names were looking quite strong. Morgan Stanley, Citibank, they were all holding their gains and looking strong, and so XLF was a really nice one to watch. So look, if you take a look at the monthly chart, quarterly, inside quarter, and went up. Okay, on the monthly chart, this is what we were looking for. Okay, outside bar, what's going to be next on that outside bar? And it went outside bar and up. Okay, and then on the weekly, this is the pattern that we were looking at here on the weekly chart. Let's just jump over here and zoom in. On the weekly chart, it went outside and down, right? There's your outside bar, it goes down. Now where does it go next? Up. So it comes back in, and that becomes the pivot right away. And so they took all of them out, right? So they just took all those pivots out on this past week, and it stopped all those guys out who had their stops above that area. So now can they get up here and take out these guys? Now we have a pretty busy news week coming up. Obviously all the economic news that's usually on the calendar, but it's a lot of earnings names as well. So on Monday, Citigroup reports. Then on Tuesday, I believe we have Goldman and Bank of America. Netflix reports on Tuesday as well. And on Friday, we have option expiry. So we have a lot of news items that will definitely keep the markets buzzing along. So this should be maybe a lot more interesting of a week than it was this past week for equities. Okay, so speaking of sectors, so financials looking very strong going into earnings. So far, the banks have reported strong. Now let's take a look. Right, there's two other sectors that have done really well for themselves. The first off is I talked about it in last week's video. XLU, it hit all-time highs not this past week, but last week or 2 weeks ago. So that's just been kind of steadily humming along. Well, already hit all-time highs right now, just consolidating. XLK, as I talked about already, the tech sector went all-time highs this week, right into, look at that strong chart, boom, right into all-time highs. And XLY, discretionary, this week also went all-time highs. So on Friday, that chart right there, on Friday, that little chart, it went all-time highs on the discretionary sector. So that's what you want to be seeing, is that these sectors are all hitting all-time highs, and you don't have any laggards. The only laggards that look kind of weak right now is the healthcare sector, which did break down this past week, right? So a lot of people played the healthcare short, but the issue is that you're still inside month. So you did break down, but you did not necessarily break the bigger trend up. So until you start breaking down and staying down, you have most sectors still trending upwards. So this is good for a broader based rally. So now let's talk about one final name and something to think about. So out of all the indices, right, we have Qs, Spiders, Russell, Dow. Spiders and Qs are very close to hitting all-time highs. So it's very close now. And if those two do make all-time highs, then these other indices could try to play catch up, right? Dow and Russell specifically. So the Dow, as I mentioned earlier, is very close to those all-time highs as well, only about 2% away. And so this week, you might want to take a look at some Dow names that may want to try to play catch up, right? So Dow only has 30 stocks in it, so you can start looking for names that, if they haven't hit their all-time highs yet, these are names that could possibly go to those all-time highs. So take a look at all your Dow stocks, those 30, do a bit of homework, and look at the names that you might want to be holding into those all-time highs, because if the Dow gets there, it's going to be powered by its components. And so one of them that I'm kind of favoring, if things, again, they do report, I think they do report this coming week, so we definitely need to watch out and see what day Cook reports. Yeah, they report on the 23rd, so not this week, but in 23rd is what day? Let's just double check what day that is. 23rd is the following Tuesday, so not this Tuesday, but the following Tuesday. So here is Coca-Cola. So Coca-Cola on the monthly chart, this is what we like to see. On the bottom right hand corner, right? I'll just zoom in, outside, inside, and now breaking to the upside. It has to stay above this level though. So right now it's not able to do that. The high here is 46.92. You want to see this guy stay above 46.92 for this inside bar condition to really kick in. Right now, what gives this thing a fighting chance is that if you look at the weekly chart, it's inside weak. Okay, so if this inside weak breaks, for the 46.92, if that breaks, that will also probably trigger the inside week, and then you're going to have a lot more momentum coming into the name, as then you have multiple time frames triggering, which will bring in more buyers. So look at the names like Coca-Cola and other down names for pullbacks to get into, so that you can ride these things into all-time highs. All right, so went a little bit long this week, but was a lot to cover there. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. I hope you have a great trading week, and happy trading.